Hello students, we're back to the new chapter, that is chapter number 6. Okay, the chapter number 6, you can turn on the page number 66. Name of the chapter is Combustions and the Flame. Okay, you can see it's the combustions and the flame. Okay, so we'll be studying. We have just completed our chapter number. We have completed one chapters for the second terminal examinations, that is coals and petroleum. Okay, so from this we will be studying the next chapter, that is combustions and flame. So here these chapters, okay, so in these chapters what we are going to discuss, that I have already written in this overview what we call contents. Okay, content of these chapters. So content of this chapter, in these chapters, these are some points that we will be covering up. One is introductions. Second, we will be discussing what is the combustions. Then we will be discussing about type of combustions and firefighting, disadvantages of incomplete combustions, flames and fuels and their types. Okay, so this will be the first parts of the video for these chapters. So I'll be segregating this chapter into 3 different part of videos. Okay, because we won't be able to complete the chapters in one single videos. If we try to complete in one single videos, it will be consuming more time. Okay, so I'll be sending 3 different types of video, and I request each and everyone to please watch the videos and try to understand it. If you don't understand, repeat again, watch it again. If you have any problem, you are free to ask the questions. You can text me, you can call me up, okay, or you can come to the schools or to my residence and you can clear out your doubt. I'm giving you this I'm making you so free to learn. Okay, the aim and objective of our as a teacher, the aim and objective of a teacher is that you should learn. Okay, you should learn. That is the most important thing. Okay, so don't hesitate to ask. If you don't understand anything, don't hesitate to ask or don't hesitate to raise any questions. Okay, so that is what we are going to do. Let's go. Let's start with the chapter. You see here in our village, wood or a cow dung, cake or crop residues are used to cook food, whereas in the town, kerosene or cokes are used. Okay, and in cities, LPG is used. Yes or no? So in our village, you might see that firewood. Mostly in Nagaland, we mostly use this firewoods. Okay, we used to use the firewoods. But if you go to the South Indian or any part of India, you will see them like they are using a cow dung. They dry up the cow dung and then they make a cake of the cow dung and then try to burn as a fuel. Okay, as like a fuel, they use it, and they use it for cooking or any kitchens cooking purpose. Okay, so whereas in the town, if you come across, you might see that they are using a kerosene oil, like your kerosene oil. Some cokes are being used. Okay, but in city, even in the towns also, in some town, most of the town now, most of the town, the LPG have been used also. But here's I have written as per your textbook that LPG is used. What is LPG? It is a liquefied petroleum gas. Okay, we have discussed about under the petroleum gas. We have discussed about this liquefied petroleum gas. LPG stands for liquefied petroleum gas. Okay, now petrol is, now you see another fuel that we use is petrol. Okay, the petrol used for running the vehicles like car. Okay, light vehicles means like cars, scooters, right, your bike. Okay, and diesel is used for running the heavy vehicles like your Tata bus. We have discussed about this uses, different types of uses, okay, in the previous topic. So please go through this last videos. If you don't watch the previous videos, it will be very hard for you to understand the entire topics of these chapters. Now, coals and fuels or natural gas is used in the factories. Okay, we have discussed this coal, fuel oil, natural gas. Even this one also we have discussed in the previous chapters. Okay, next, all those metals such as petroleum, diesel, etc. Okay, diesel, etc. means you have a petrol, coal, fuel oil, natural gas, woods, cow dung, cakes, or kerosene oil, or LPG. All this produces a heat during burning. Obviously, they produce as a heat. Whenever you burn a fire, there is a chances that they will produce a heat, and these heats energies are used for different purposes. Now, when you talk about the woods, you use the fire. When you burn the fires, okay, they produces a heat, right? When you burn the firewood, they produces a heat. Okay, so what does the heat? What does that heat? The heat generated by the fire, what for what purpose you use? In order to cook foods. Okay, in order to make yourself warm, right? So many purposes are there that where we use these heat energies. Okay, the material which produce heat energy on burning and airs are called fuels. What is a fuel? The material which produce, okay, the material which produce energy on burning in air. Okay, the energy which produce on burning in air are called fuels. Okay, so this is about, we have discussed about the fuels. Okay, further the materials on which producing, okay, some materials, whenever you burn the fuel, some material they produces a flame, and some material they don't produce as a flame. Okay, now when you talk about the candles or coal gas, on burning they produces a flame, but the coals or but not the coals or a charcoal, right? When you talk about candle, if you burn the candle, obviously they produce a flame, you know, right? Flame they will produce as a flame. And but if you burn the coal or your charcoal, we used to say koila, right? If you burn the koila, that means they will not produce a flame, but still they will generate the heats. Okay, still they will produce the heats. Okay, so this is what we are talking about. Some fuel will produce a flame, while some fuel will not produce the flames. Okay. So you say, what is a combustion out here? Okay, what is a combustion? A combustion is a chemical process in which the substance burned in air or oxygen with the release of heat and light energy is called combustion. What is combustion? It is a chemical process. Why chemical process? Okay, the chemical process, it is a chemical process. Why? Because there is a reaction taking place. The reaction is taking place. Okay, the reaction is taking place between the air that is oxygen. Okay, between the air that is oxygen and the carbon content on that fuels. Okay, so whenever you burn the fires, the carbon content in your fuel will combine with the oxygen to produce the heat and light. That is why we call this as a chemical process. It's the chemical process in which the substance, and you burn the substance in presence of air or oxygen, will release with the release of heat and light energy. This process is called combustion. Now you're clear about these combustions. Okay, when the combustions, under these combustions, okay, whenever the combustion process is taking place, there will be two different terms that you will come across. One is called combustible material. So this is your combustible material, that is a firewood. Okay, this is a combustible material. This fuel thing, that fuel, okay, the fuel there, petrol, diesel, is a combustible materials. Okay, now the airs or oxygen which have been burning is called supporter of the combustions. Okay, whenever you burn the fires, okay, whenever you burn the fire, if there is no air or if there is no oxygen, okay, then chances is there that no combustion will take place. Okay, you can take the activities of that one also. Whenever you are burning the candles, okay, if you are burning in the candles in the outside, and if you try to close it with them glass, okay, then ultimately the flame, the combustion is taking place, the combustion is taking place by the combustions will stop, right? They will stop. That means, or also you can also say, whenever you throw the sand, okay, or sand where there is a burning is taking place, and ultimately the burning will stop. Why? Because we are resisting the air to come in contact with the combustible material, so that the combustion will take place. Okay, but if the air is not supplied, if the sufficient amounts of air is not supplied, that means combustions will not take place. Okay, so that is the two material substance, combustible material like your firewoods or fuels. Okay, but supporter of the combustion is what? Supporter of the combustion is your air and oxygen, which regulate the combustions to take place. Next is supporter of the combustions. We will be discussing more details about the supporter of the combustions. Okay, the air is necessary for combustion. So if I already told you, the air is very much necessary for the combustion. But among air content, among air also, the oxygen, we know that out of in our atmospheres, okay, in our atmospheres, okay, the air is a mixtures, okay, the air is a mixtures of oxygen, nitrogen, and many more other gases like argon, neon, heliums, okay, and many more gases are there. Okay, so out of this, okay, out of this, 21% of airs contain an oxygen. 21% of air contain an oxygen which support the combustion, whereas nitrogen with 78% only moderate the rate of combustion, whereas 1% of noble gas 1% of noble gas do not support 1% of noble gas like neon, helium, argon. All those gases does not support the rate of combustions. Okay, does not support the combustion. Which will support the combustion? The most important gases is oxygen. If oxygen is present, combustion will obviously take place. Okay, right. Some example you see whenever a person's of whenever if the clothes of a person catch fire, he is immediately wrapped in a thick blankets. Okay, if you can see the pictures out here, I have given already pictures. You see these girls, right? It is these girls' clothes have been already with the fires. Okay, but the man behind it, he is warming the clothes. Okay, he's warming this woman. Okay, this woman with the blanket. Why is warming the blanket? So that he will stop the supplies, so that he will cut off the supplies of oxygen, so that he will cut off the supplies of oxygen. You see, the blanket cut off the supplies of oxygen, that is oxygen air, that is a supporter of combustion, and hence the fire is put off. Okay, so this is an example. If you don't wrap with the blanket, that means chances is here that fire will go more dangerously, right? So but when you put in the blanket, that means when you try to rub the fires, okay, when you try to rub the fires, that means they will stop. Okay, they will stop the supplies of air, that is oxygens. Okay, and the air is what? It is the supporter of combustion. So I'm repeating, the air is what? The supporter of combustion. Don't forget this one. Okay, or whenever the sand is poured over a burning material, the fire goes off. You come across this one every day, right? Whenever there is a burning, okay, whenever there is a burning, and you put, when you pour a sand, okay, or sand, that means automatically you turn off the gas. You come across every day. You have a practice every day. If your mom and a dad or whatever it is, they will ask you when you are in a jungle. They will ask you to put off the fires. Then what you do? If there's no water in around, then what shall you do? You'll put the sand in it. Here are some examples you can see. Okay, if you are putting this blanket, okay, on this fire, that means they will try to cut off the supplies of oxygen. Once they cut off the supplies of oxygen, that means fire will not take place. Okay, next here you see the candle is burning here. So if I put this glass, okay, inverted glass jar, gas jar, if I put this one, that means there will be no more gas inside this glass jar. That means this fire will turn off. So this is some example where supplies of oxygen is very much needed. Okay, supplies of oxygen, or we can say supplies of air is very much needed. Among the airs also, oxygen is a common air which support the combustions. Okay, discuss about it now. Continuous supplies of oxygens or air. If excessive supplies of oxygens, what happen if you're supplying excessive oxygens? Okay, what happen if the excessive amounts of air is being supplied? Okay, if excessive supplies of supporter, that is air or oxygen, lead to complete combustion, means if sufficient amounts of airs are present, sufficient amounts of oxygens are present, then there will be a complete combustion. What means there will be complete combustion? Means there will be no more smoke. Okay, no smoke will be released. But if the combustion is taking place with the limited supplies of air, if there is limited supplies of air, or if there is less supplies of air, okay, then the yellow flame, this yellow flame will be producing, and along with this yellow flame there will be a lot of smoke. Okay, there will be a lot of smoke producing in it. Okay, so this is what this yellow flame, if you see this yellow flame, that means what, sufficient of air is not being supplied. Okay, next, if excessive air is supplied, then the complete combustion is taking place along with this blue flame. Here you see this blue flame is taking place. Here you see the blue flame. Here you see at the very beginning, whenever you turn on their gas cylinders, right? So they will first burn in this something like yellowish flame, right? And then after some while it will turn into bluish colors. Why? Because they have got sufficient amounts of oxygen, but here sufficient amounts of oxygen had been stopped. That means you have stopped the supplies of air. Okay, so whenever you burn it, some of the hole present in this top got blocked, right? Got blocks which cut off the supplies of oxygen. Now you see ignition, another term that is called ignition temperature. What is ignition temperature? Let's try to understand. Let us do some activities. Okay, let us do some activities. Okay, to activities to a themes more about the combustions. Can a mastic burn on its own? Okay, can we burn a wood piece by lighting a matchstick? And the answer to this question is no. Why? You see, whenever you are burning, okay, whenever you are burning the mastic, if you strike out the mastic covers, okay, and then mastic, then there will be a combustions. Okay, there will be a burnings. Okay, so combustion will take place. But if that mastic, the lighted mastic, if you put inside the wood, do you think the firewood will burn? Okay, no. Why? Because the ignition temperature is low. This so that the different substance burn at different. Okay, this is not bomb, this is burn. Okay, this is not burn. I'm sorry, typing mistake I have done. So this is not a burn. This is not a bomb. This is burn. Okay, B-U-R, burn at different temperatures. Okay, most of the substances burn in a different temperature. Some minimum temperature is essential for burning combustible substance before it catch fire, and this minimum temperature is called the ignition temperature. The ignition temperature, it is a minimum temperature to which a combustible substance must be heated before it catch fires. Okay, so what is it? Ignition temperature is a temperature where minimum temperature is needed. Okay, so the combustible element can be, the combustible substance can be heated and catch a fires. Okay, a substance will not catch a fire, burn if its temperature is lower than ignition temperature. But substance will not catch a fire if the ignition temperature is low. Okay, now you see a wet woods. Okay, a wet woods and a dry woods. Okay, which one will burn first? Obviously it will be a dry woods. Why? Because the ignition temperatures of the dry wood is high, but the wet low, and the ignition temperatures of that wet wood is high. Okay, so that is why if the ignition temperature is lower, okay, the temperature is lower than the ignition temperature, if ignition temperature is lower than ignition temperature, then chances is zero that there will be no burning. Different substances have different ignition temperature that we have already told you. The ignition temperature of the kerosene is less than the ignition temperature of the wood. Okay, that means this will burn faster as compared to the woods. Okay, substances which have a very low ignition temperature can easily catch fire with the flames are called inflammable substances like petrol, alcohol, LPG, CNG, etc. Now when you burn the firewoods and the petrol, who will catch fire early? Obviously the petrol will catch fire early. Why? Because the ignition temperature is very low. Okay, so such types of substances are called inflammable substances. But those substances which have a higher ignition temperature, they will catch the fire very lightly. Okay, so this is all about the ignition temperature. Now we'll be discussing about the condition necessary for the combustion. We have already discussed that to do the combustions, okay, these are some substance that we need to be. First is what? These are some conditions that need to be. The first condition is what? There should be a combustible material. If there's no firewood, if there's no petrol, if there's no fuels, okay, that means combustion will not take place, right? Next is what? A continuous supplies of air should be there, even though if you have a combustible material like wood, firewoods, okay, petrol, diesels, or any fuels. But if there's no supplies of oxygen, then combustible will not take place. Next one, the temperature of combustible materials should be above its ignition temperature. If the temperature of the materials, okay, if the temperature of the material is above the ignition temperature, that means the material will go for the combustions. Okay, so these are the three conditions that you have to remember. Next, you see the basic elements are needed for the fires to occur. Okay, these are the basic elements that you need to fire to be occurs. Okay, so what are the basic elements? The fire triangle, you see, oxygen is needed, ignition temperature is needed, combustible material is needed. Okay, so these are the three conditions that you have to remember. What are the basic elements needed for it? Okay, the fire triangle is what? The fire triangle is that first, oxygen. If combustible material is not there, oxygen will not take place. Fire combustion will not take place. If combustible and ignition temperature is there, but oxygen is not there, then again your fire will not take place, right? And if oxygen air and combustible material are there, but their ignition temperatures are very high, that means combustible material will the fire will take very like this. Okay, so to burn anything, their ignition temperature should be low. Okay, so this is all about the chapters of this is all about the explanations in the first video lectures. Okay, I hope you understood everything, whatever it is. And the next video will be discussing about the types of combustions, okay, and firefightings and many more topics in the next videos. Okay, so I believe, and please try to go please go through these videos again and again, watch it, try to understand, okay, and learn it. Okay, so this is all about for today's videos, and stay safe, stay home, bye bye.